Yeah, I'm starting. Fine. So, I mean, we all know about Selenium, right? Why it is kind of widely used, and actually, there are a few other tools which are there in the market, but those are not kind of popular. And it will also use kind of inbuilt Selenium only on the background to do things, right? Actually, there is one famous now, one framework becoming famous called Nightwatch JS. Actually, I mean, there are some JavaScript frameworks which in turn use Selenium on the hood and run the things actually. So for I mean, for JavaScript, there are certain libraries. Even now, JavaScript kind of frameworks are becoming popular actually, because even developer can write tests easily in JavaScript. They'll be developing in JavaScript and they'll be executing it. But generally, what we used to have is like we will not prefer whatever developer does. Right? There was one situation in my company, I mean previous company, actually IBM, where they gave certain project to me and they asked me to execute in Nightwatch.js, that testing to start in Nightwatch.js actually. So what was the problem is like they have given one project which was kind of a unit testing framework, which was done by developers, and we had to continue on that. But it was not kind of feasible for us, right? We had testing functional. I mean, functional regression testing is kind of different from unit testing, right? So we weren't able to do that completely. But for basic kind of tests, I think those things are more than enough. But for I mean, for regular testing, I think there is no replacement for Selenium in the market right now, right? So before Selenium start, I mean Selenium story, I think most of them would have aware by now. They started as a competition to UFT, right? Even the name Selenium is kind of they kept the name because they wanted to have a competition with you. I mean the company which is kind of developing the UFT. Previously, it was before UFT. The name was what was the name before UFT? I forgot.
Mercury.
I don't know. Mercury's company name. The
No,
tool
no,
itself had a different name, right?
no, no. Actually, it's Mercury. What happened is like
Mm-hmm.
antidote, right? Selenium is an antidote for the Mercury. Okay, if you check that, it would be the same. Okay, so it's Mercury.
Yes, Shiva. Actually, Mercury was the company doing that. It's actually QTP. Yeah, right.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, there was
Tool is
think of this
QTP.
name. Yeah, tool is QTP.
But to answer to your question, to add on to whatever you are saying, the
Yes, yes,
selenium, whichever came, right, it's
yes,
only
yes,
as an antidote to the HP company, right? So
yes, yes. Actually, HP company acquired that Mercury. Actually,
true, 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 true.
right. So this is what happened, and nowadays when I started my career, we thought like EFT kind of had its market. Actually, Selenium caught up very quickly. Actually, um, but actually, I started developing in UFT. Actually, the UFT is kind of convenient tool for certain things. Actually, you can use for desktop Windows automation also. You can automate anything with that. Actually, it will capture a object. I mean, even for some installed applications, you try to capture objects, and you can do those kind of stuffs there. Um, so, but as more and more application move towards this cloud, right? Cloud means you can access application directly via browser. You don't have to install anything inside your particular, I mean, laptop or computer. So Selenium gained popularity, and nowadays very primitive applications uses UFT. I guess those banking kind of applications or insurance kind of applications. We had this very irritating tool to test called I think. when I was in CTS actually. It's kind of a, I mean, I forgot the name. Yeah, it's kind of a tool which is specifically developed for testing some insurance related project actually. So what happened? It's a standalone application which we will install inside our computer. And what it will do, once you open that application, it will fetch all the data from the databases and it will present it in its own format actually. The healthcare insurance and those kind of sensitive databases to people didn't want to expose those kind of things over the internet or over a website, so they thought of developing their own tool. But nowadays um, things are changing, right? Okay, fine. So we had this thing called Selenium IDE actually, uh, which 99.99% of people are not using at all nowadays. I mean, you aware of Selenium IDE? Anyone?
Yeah, Karthik.
Yeah, we're aware, right? Mm, Actually, it's kind of deprecated also now. They are developed by like people who are just
They
interested in
recently pulled
doing.
it back again.
Sorry.
No, they have pulled it back. They have
Yeah,
pulled it back again.
yeah. They are kind of recently maintained by people who are actually interested in those things as a separate project actually.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right. Um, so what happened? It's kind of a plug and play. Yeah, something similar to this. Right. You just have click this record button over here and you just go to these websites, randomly do stuffs, click, and those things it will try to capture whatever you did here, right? And it has some support for a few languages. You'll try to convert the script into those languages, but it's kind of pretty straightforward, right? uh, we don't have to do if you want to do some validations we cannot do. If you want to set some negative cases we cannot do. Basically it's kind of not at all kind of a useful tool at all. Maybe I would say like that. Maybe just to test some basic flows, straightforward flows, it might be useful, but people don't use that. Even basic level companies or projects don't use this because of advent of these reliable frameworks, right, which came up recently. Setting a testing framework is kind of a very easy task nowadays actually. You can do it within 2 3 days actually. You can develop an entire testing framework within 2 3 days. Previously it used to be a hard task before some frameworks came and all, but it's kind of a very easy task. Even many interviews what they used to ask is like, have you developed a framework, have you developed a framework? People are kind of wanting to know that you are actually, people will be thinking like, if you develop a framework then you'll possibly know everything about development. Yeah, right. That is the case. And we had this something called Selenium RC, and again we don't use these things. um, Selenium remote control driver was kind of popular before the Selenium WebDriver came. So actually, what you have to do, you have to create a project for Selenium, and you have to have something called RC server, right? Just like we for what to say, just like we communicate to a MySQL databases, and that server communicates to store some databases inside this particular um, I mean, inside our system or so like that. Or let's take an example like we're communicating to server, we're sending the data to a server, and that server will handle the logics and will store it in somewhere, right? Those data. So it was something like that. You have to have a middleman called RC server. Whatever libraries that are available, you have to that is available for communicating with the RC server only, right? That RC server in turn communicates with browser, and I mean, in turn communicates with browser, and browser in turn responds to the particular script. So it was kind of a little complicated architecture actually. So inside our RC, we have this um, commands in any languages, and it will go to this RC server. You have to run this server actually in any port just to communicate with these things, browser, and this RC server communicates with browser, and any communication back should also happen the same way, right? So this was kind of complicated. So people thought, hey, I have to do this kind of complicated things. Just why can't we use simple mechanism where I can communicate with the browser directly? So then came the Selenium WebDriver. Right now, this only we are using. I hope people. I mean, you know, right? Selenium 4 is on the cards already. Beta testing is going on. I think you can start to use Selenium 4 actually, right? It has some issue.
No, no, I'm saying yes, yes, Selenium 4 is already in the market.
Yeah, it has some interesting features actually. Yeah, I actually kind of like those features.
Yeah, few things I observed was like, instead of the size thing, there's two other thing came up. It's more, you can use one method, one straight.
Hmm. Yeah, okay. Yeah, captures a screenshot of a specific element actually. It's kind of useful only. Selenium 4 is quite interesting. Open the tab in new browser, object location. Yeah, this was the thing which I found very interesting. Relative locators. These kind of relative locators concept you have in U of T actually. Anyone worked on U of T actually?
No, Karthik.
Okay. This U of T had this very interesting concept of relative locators. For example, if I'm not able to find anything related to my, that ID, or we find some locators to identify our object in our browser, right? If we are not able to find anything, not even a proper expert, not even a class ID, anything. So this relative locators are very useful. For example, I have this particular web element here. Let's say I have this web element here, and I wanted to take the web element of this here, right? Web element location of this. So assume that I didn't have any proper locators to identify this. So I have proper locator to identify this particular thing. Let's say it's in a table. So I have a proper XPath or so to identify this thing. So I can just say, hey, your particular thing which I want, which you are searching for, is just below this particular object, just below this particular table, like in the screen. You can just say relative to this particular object. So only these methods are the below, left off, right off. Okay, it's kind of interesting to see these things. So this Selenium WebDriver came. What happened? This WebDriver was able to communicate with browser directly, and we have many libraries in different languages to support that. Right? But even now, what is one still caveat is like you have to have this driver file installed. So even Anshul faced the same problem while submitting the project yesterday, right? Anshul, if she's there.
Yeah, right.
So that is kind of an thing where wherever you are going to set up your WebDriver, even for running in Jenkins and those kind of stuff, you have to have it in a separate file, and you have to run it. And another irritating problem nowadays is kind of this Chrome is updating its Chrome versions very frequently actually nowadays. I don't know why. 87, 88, 90, 100, I think it will touch 100 soon. So, and our Chrome driver becomes deprecated, and maintaining that itself become very tough. Even currently in my project, people are complaining about that this Chrome is updating fast, and we have to update the Chrome driver again and again. So this is also one kind of problem to
Uh,
solve, right? Yes, ma'am.
so, Karthik, generally, when we build a project in a job, so where we uh, keep the Chrome exe file in the job itself?
No, we don't keep it in. I mean, you're asking about the project location.
Yeah, right. Like when we run the job in the real time,
Mhm.
how do we set the property of Chrome exe file there? And where do we keep there? Like in the project or in the while running the job, we keep somewhere.
See, Achal, I'll pitch in that. Okay. If Karthik, it's okay from you.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong also, but I'll keep my point. Okay. There are three ways, Anshul. Okay. To everyone. Okay. Three ways actually. You can keep it as an environment property as a default. Okay. Go to your system properties and keep it as an environment variable. Okay. Save that location of your local. Okay. That is one kind of a way. The other way is you can have your drivers in your package. Okay. It will be the same your local location though, but if you want to shift your give any of your project share across git or as a zip file, it has it local copy of in the package itself. That is one second method. The third method I think Karthik will teach you very soon. I think if you want to wait for that, you can still wait. It's called WebDriver Manager. Okay. It's in one individual who has developed that, and everyone are using it. He's that package that library is also available in GitHub. Actually, it's in WebDriver Manager. So that is the third method. You can use directly WebDriver Manager dot whatever the browser you want to use, and it directly takes the online version or whatever the online version available at that instance of the run. It will take that latest version, so we don't have that conflict. Straight we can use that, or if you want to test any specific version also, you can mention that also in that WebDriver Manager. So these are the three ways you can do it. Okay, with my knowledge. If anyone want to correct me, please correct me, but that is what my understanding is.
Okay.
Yes, sure. Fine. Whatever you said is perfectly correct.
So this is the last third point what Sagar said is in the Selenium 4, or we can do that in Selenium 3 as well.
No, no. I mean, Selenium supports it irrespective of versions. It's not
Okay,
only
okay.
with respect to Selenium 4.
Okay, okay.
So I will cover that. So, but what maybe whatever project I have worked, we don't keep it in the project path. We keep it in a separate path and we just initialize it. And for Mac, actually, we really don't need to set the property. Actually, if you put it in a user bin folder, then it will directly execute. So
Yeah, Karthik, we can
that
do
is
that. Yeah,
that
we
is
can
one
use it in a
advantage.
user. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is also there. So I mean, this is one caveat. Actually, it's uh, initially this particular Firefox tried to address this issue by having the Firefox driver within the Selenium itself, right? I mean, if you use Selenium before, we don't have to say system.set property for Firefox driver initially before 2 3 years. For Chrome driver, for example, if I wanted to use Chrome driver, I should say system.set property, and I should say something like this, right? And its path, right? And what I have to say, and I have to say WebDriver driver is equal to new Chrome driver. But in case of Firefox, what used to happen actually is I don't need this particular thing, and I don't need this particular Firefox driver to be installed anywhere. It came along with the library actually. I can just directly go and initialize something like this.
Yeah, because that instance of the Selenium, sorry, that time of the Selenium, the Firefox community and the Selenium community are working together, and so they had that integration with Firefox, right? Because first Selenium came also, it was only most of the applications were used to test with Firefox only.
Yes, yes.
My knowledge. So the community were having that, and people from Firefox
Even
community.
this Selenium IDE tool, right, was an extension only Firefox, I think.
Indeed,
Back
yes.
here.
Actually, the community was focused for that. Then later they have started building the libraries for other browsers. Yeah.
So now we are setting the property for Firefox as well.
Yes, yes, yes. There is something called for Chrome we have Chrome driver. For Firefox we have a Gecko driver.
Gecko driver, yeah, right. This is something I know because every time I use Firefox, I got the exception for Gecko driver. I never Google it, but I use a easy way for as a Chrome driver.
Okay. So I mean, each and every browser have this particular driver nowadays. I mean, why it has to do like that? I mean, it had one logic actually logical reason for doing that. Companies preferring that way. Because of that only Firefox is also kind of removed its support to be inside that Selenium library itself directly. I mean, can you guess of any reason why they done that?
Security issues.
Can you come again, Karthik?
No, why it has to be two separate entities? This Chrome browser and I mean the Selenium along along with this particular I mean driver. Why it can't be combined?
You meant to say why we are having
This Chrome
the
driver
driver like
separately, yeah, and we have a Selenium library separately. Why it doesn't have an inbuilt support?
Mm.
Does it do anything do with the same origin policy or something?
No, no, no. I don't have to think too much. It's very simple and straightforward thing only. See, when we integrate that driver along with the library, then we change that only. We change the library. Nowadays, the frequency of the Chrome driver getting updated and those things are very frequent. And if
Okay.
our driver is not getting updated and we are getting stagnant here,
Mm.
so it will not be feasible, right? Again, if they have updated something in Chrome, and if we wanted to us to update the entire Selenium library itself, maintenance become very very costly. So they
Yeah.
thought like they'll gave it a separate entity. It's better that way, like for compatibility issues actually.
Okay. Karthik, if you don't mind, actually, my network got disconnected, so I don't able to hear all that stuff you have told above. Can you just brief in like in 2-3 minutes, like what we have studied above Selenium IDE, RC, and all?
Okay, okay. So Selenium ID is kind of a very primitive technology nowadays. Nobody uses that. Selenium ID is I'll show that. I have this link open. Selenium ID is kind of this kind of an tool. If you see it, right, it's kind of an extension, browser extension, where you can you see this run button, right? If you click on this run button, if you do some actions over some browser, then it will record this things like this command. And it also has the support for a few languages. It will just show those recording things converted as a language specific format and it will show to you. So that's the use of Selenium IDE. But one very biggest disadvantage and problem with the Selenium IDE is like you cannot do some logics for that, right? You just have a click option and you just go going forward and forward. uh,
Okay.
right, you don't have this clear logic validation, some kind of
Assertions.
assertions and weightings and those kind of very advanced stuff where you can do with the programming language,
Okay.
a proper programming language, right?
Yeah.
Assertions actually is there. What I'm trying to say is
Acha.
like you wanted to validate so many things you inside if
Yeah, right.
condition, you're getting the thing, right?
Yeah, I'm getting.
So, Karthik, are you using this Chrome browser or some other?
No, Selenium IDE. We
I
had
mean, the
something called
browser.
Selenium IDE. Remember, Sagar?
Yes, no, actually, I'm saying that what browser you are using for Selenium ID.
It can be any browser.
Current.
I mean, it supports
Okay.
most of the browsers. It supports Chrome and Firefox.
So are we using
So,
nowadays in our projects
No, no, no.
Selenium
We don't
IDE?
use this at all.
Okay.
Because it's a straightforward flow. We kind of we don't
Okay.
have this kind of full control over what we wanted to do in our particular
Okay.
browser, right?
hmm.
So we
But
don't
this is
use that.
extensively fast. Yeah, the script runs so fast, it's very difficult to understand what is happening.
No, that is also an issue. If it is run so fast, for example, it might have recorded in a particular day where the internet was fast, and it will try to execute in without some proper weights and all, right? And it cannot handle this Ajax calls and all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I would like to know, Shiva and Karthik, from how many years the Selenium is into like play? Like from how long people are using in a project Selenium? Like five,
I think
6, 7
from
years.
no, I think it's from early 2000s. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll check.
Okay.
Selenium history. Yeah, okay, yeah. It's from 2004, developed in 2004, and as an internal tool in ThoughtWorks.
Okay.
And okay, in 2009, Selenium WebDriver came. I think from 2004 we are using, and those ID and between 2009 and
With,
9, the WebDriver came into picture. Before that, I think we used RC in 2005, 6, 7, 8, and those kind of.
okay.
It's more often 2009 or 10. Actually, it started in the market. Before it was all applications of the community was internal usage. Whether it is an IED, RC, or WebDriver, till they have the officially announced it as in public usage. I think it's still 2009 or 10. Before that, it was
I mean, this should be more
So,
than sufficient.
Karthik,
Hmm?
yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. I'll
Yes,
ask
you
you a question.
Sagar, you are asking something.
Yeah, actually, yesterday Angel has come up with some issue while setting up that Maven infrastructure. So, what was the
Yes.
resolution?
No, actually, that Surefire plugin configuration wasn't done properly in Sagar. You when you
Oh,
run the Maven
okay.
test, right? You just pass that as an argument in as an
Yes,
XML argument in the Surefire plugin. You
yes.
configure inside the Surefire plugin. Said it was configured under Maven compiler plugin, so that was the problem.
That's why we do. You do have to. We have to mention two plugins, right? So one is compiler, and another one is your Shopify.
Yeah, right. So Maven compiler plugin is kind for different purpose. It is just it says what version of Java you use and those kind of things, building kind of stuff. Right? So what?
Okay.
Yeah. So what's a good thing about Maven or even Gradle? I hope you people know about Gradle also. Gradle also can be used,
Yes.
yeah, to automate or build things. Actually, build it's a building framework. What's a good thing about is like you don't have to worry if I wanted to run the same project in my system also. For example, Anchal sent me those projects yesterday. I just had to import as a Maven project and the Maven update. That's it. All the different libraries are automatically updated. I ran this command and the test started to run. I don't have to do anything extra. So it was kind of very helpful in many situations, right, Maven? And
Okay.
I think you people are aware of something called sorry, Docker. Uh, you're aware of
Yes,
this tool?
I heard it, but I don't know
Yeah,
the
You
same. I
uses.
heard it. Don't know its usage.
okay? Even many companies prefer us to know these tools. Actually, it's kind of CI/CD tool, right? What Docker does is Docker does similar things like Maven, but it's in a really very large scale actually. You can combine multiple tools itself inside a particular Docker image, and you can ship that image file itself. You don't have to do anything. For example, if my project uses Selenium, you asked about the Selenium WebDriver also, right? Yesterday, how to package it. If it's a Docker file, then it's very easy to package. You can put the Selenium Chrome driver inside a Docker file, and you can put, if you're running a database MySQL, you can put the entire MySQL server inside a Docker file, and it's kind of a mini package actually. Whatever you wanted to run, right? External dependency, everything you put in a single Docker file. Just to send it over and just say them what command to run in the command line to run the Docker file. It will start to run everything. It will start your MySQL server. It will start your Chrome driver. It will start your Selenium. If you just have to give that command to start everything, you can start to run the test. It's kind of packaging everything into a single entity and shipping it. Docker is very, very useful. I strongly suggest you to learn because many people are asking Docker nowadays.
Okay.
And it's very, very interesting topic to learn. Actually, you'll get to know many things.
Yeah, Karthik, to add on whatever you just said, okay, it's mainly used on the side of the application. What you say? Now we have the application installing as a .exe file, right? Okay, so if you want to work on that uh, for every instance, like for every individual, we can't do all the setup, right? So to do that as an complete kind of an application, whatever it is needed for your project, they pack it as a container and they give it as an image. Okay, as you just said, like MySQL or any of the software which needed for a application to be run up and running for one individual. We don't need to go one by one installing .exe files or downloading them and doing it. So they have this Dogger image, which you can comprise everything. Okay, and you can give that image to the individual so that they can use it in their local.
Yes.
Yeah, and to be precise, uh, the person who has already developed the Linux has also developed the containers and orchestrations and everything from in 90 only. But as of the usage in the market, people started using the containers and every concepts. It's nothing new. It's from the Linux itself. It's part of a Linux actually. That's the reason it's easy that people are using it. There's no invention is done recently. They're just using the invented. Yeah, the person who has done the Linux has already done in 89 or 89 or 87. He already done this containers long back.
So that was the thing. Maybe it's actually huge topic actually, Docker. There's one very good course which I would suggest. Even I bought that course. I would suggest you to check that course actually. Okay, even Black Friday savings are there in Udemy. This Docker has this course in Udemy. It's kind of very, very good course actually. This Docker mastery with Kubernetes and Swarm. I see it's 360 rupees, right? It's very, very useful to learn these things.
Okay.
It's kind of available in just 360. Maybe I think the offer expires in 14 hours. I think.
I think I just open this beneath one also. The third search. The third. Yeah, this person is also well known actually in the community of the DevOps side. Okay, and there is one other person also probably from Mumbai. Okay, I think I'll share this person not with respect to DevOps. He's also into testing, but that person is also very good. If you want to reach out to him.
Okay.
Just want to know, Shiva, how do you know about these persons so much?
I'm active in testing communities, right? And I have all the contacts with the testing community.
Okay.
All the maybe I think you heard about Sanjay, Brijesh, Mukesh. Naveen Automation. You heard about him, right?
Yeah.
I don't know whether you know Naveen about
Yeah.
Satish and Sanjay and Rakesh, Kaja. Most of the people. Sanjeev from Delhi. He's from Delhi or Mumbai. There's one other person from Delhi also. His name is Ra- Radeep or something. He's very test manager. He's very senior, 15, 20 years, and he's active in testing communities. Brijesh, maybe you don't know with the Brijesh.
Mukesh, you said that he's from Pune or what?
Mukesh is from Bangalore. He's from
Bangalore.
Pune, but he's now working in Bangalore. And Brijesh, you know, Sri Priya, okay. And there's like lot of testing community seniors who are there, who are active. I don't know whether you know Karthik from, he's from Chennai, but he's settled in New Zealand, okay. He is also an active testing community member.
Okay. And this very famous website is there, the Tools QA.
Yeah.
That founder, what is his name?
Wait, I'll tell you his name. Come on. I'm not getting this.
Lakshay Sharma, yeah.
Sorry?
Lakshay.
Yes. He's actually he was actually in UK when I got met him actually, and later he is now in Netherlands. His wife is also they both run this application. They both maintain this application actually.
Actually, yeah, he's the guy.
Yeah. He's very, very senior in the testing, man. He has done a lot of applications, like, you know, wow. If you see his resume, you'll be shocked.
Okay.
Anyone started in our Indian community regarding testing and maintaining the websites, he is the first person, apart from software testing help and Guru 99 and those people. He is the first person to come out and start doing such things. Then other people followed.
Actually, this more than Guru 99, I personally feel this website is more organized and more coherent.
Yes.
It's useful actually.
He is very professional and he also takes classes. But before he was not commercial. Now he started charging us.
Okay.
The content of this websites, any if I take up any course, this is very easy to understand also.
Tools QA, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Easy to understand.
Yes, it's actually kind of easy to understand. And they give some basic examples. No, I would not say basic, usable examples, relevant examples, actually, understandable examples. For kind of makes our life easy to start. When I started learning, I started with Guru 99 only, and later this came and I saw it's kind of even more useful for me.
I don't know whether people will agree on this, but I've seen very live thing. Guru 99 will be the first instance to start with your career for any application, any knowledge. Okay. Then people go to tutorials point. That will be a second stop. Okay. Tutorials point is again from India. You know, across the globe in US or UK or Europe, people prefer tutorial point than anything else. They just
that tutorial point is kind of having tutorials for everything. When I type anything, it has a tutorial. Even some, I was kind of, who are these guys? Why are they doing?
He's from Hyderabad, Karthik. You never believe it. He's from Hyderabad, and he's literally, man. He's taken the industry as very good. Now he's like doing the video tutorials and everything. Now he's charging from 2016 the documents. Okay, before which everything was free in his website. Everything you can download also. Now you can't do that. From 2016-17, he's charging 700 or 800 rupees to download any application, any PDF. But before which it was free. He's very good. The organization is very good. They're maintaining very structured. First point is definitely Guru 99, man. You can't deny on that. You can't. It's very good.
Yeah, in fact, every tips and tricks in Java I mean, which is required for programming in Selenium. And all those are there in tutorials point, because most of the some of the programming help I have taken from Java code snippet I have taken from tutorials point. Is it a green colored website? It's type of
A
green.
different colored website. A color varies with respect
Yeah.
to materials.
Yeah, the color is different actually. But
We'll
yeah,
see what's for
for
Selenium.
Selenium, I have when I
Red.
started Selenium, I have referred to QA. QA is comfortable.
And
I felt
for every language and everything, he has different colors. Tutorial's
Yeah.
point: if you click on some other language, you'll have some other color.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This guy is see log stack. Log stack is kind of, I don't know what color is this. Okay. Okay. We'll continue and we'll finish this. So this driver things was
Yeah.
the, I mean, Angel, you were asking about the initial things, right? And ID came, it was of no use. Then RC came. It was kind of little complicated. You have to have a separate Selenium RC server, and you have to communicate your code to that server. That server will communicate to your browser. Right? It was not feasible solution, as a different browser implements different things differently, right? uh, Even though browser loads the websites, Chrome loads the websites, Firefox loads the websites, IE loads. I'll come to IE. So each have different implementations. Chrome has something called Chromium architecture, if you know that. So it implements the JavaScript, and it has a different architecture. Firefox is open source, completely maintained by open source community. It has a different architecture. um, so things are kind of complicated to do things there. You might have noticed in testing, one particular command will work in one browser, right? Some get text or some doing some operation might have worked in one browser in Selenium only. It might have not worked in Firefox actually, right? Many problems where we are facing in automation. Nowadays it's kind of little stable. Developers who are trying to develop the applications kind of wanted to I mean uh, be compatible for every browser actually. So they develop applications, and they check the compatibility for mainly for Chrome, Firefox, and IE, right? And recently what happened, this Edge browser, that's the latest from Microsoft, right? The Edge browser, it saw that I don't have to use Internet Explorer anymore, because people are kind of not at all using it. So to include everyone, or to develop their community, they itself started using Chromium base only. Now Chromium architecture is used by Chrome as well as Edge browser. So because of the particular thing, nowadays many people have started using Edge actually, because it is kind of almost similar to what you'll see in Chrome actually. I'll just try to show some screenshot if um, it's almost similar to. Okay. Okay, I'm not able to get a proper screenshot to show that. Fine. Anyway, it is almost similar to Chrome, and it's using Chromium only inside. So now we have two main versions of what we call browsers. One is Chrome related one, and one is Firefox related one. Both are equally good. I personally feel Firefox is more useful for developers actually. It has some of the advanced stuffs. When you go to that console, you export this kind of tabs actually, apart from the elements checking here. Have you export this area called console actually? Anyone?
Yeah, correct.
Export, right? Can you even say what's the use of this console actually?
It gives you the respect to object, like the reference things.
Actually, you can execute JavaScript here. That's the thing.
Yes, yes. And Karthik,
Mhm.
as you asked, right? As you're here, I think Achal was doing yesterday with respect to web services, right?
Mhm.
Okay. If you go to the network section, I think, if I'm right, yeah, here you can see whatever happening with respect to your application, if I'm right.
Yes, actually, what happens is like, um, okay, this particular elements will have this DOM structure, right? Whatever the available in your particular thing, but where the data is feeding from something called sources. If you go to the sources, you have this front end part, which the static files that are actually loaded. You have this HTML document. If you have some CSS or images, everything will be loaded from here, either from a CDN or from a server, and you'll be able to see all these things inside this particular thing, a tab called sources. Actually, you have images also, right? And let's see what's that image. Okay, see, this particular thing is coming from here, right? So you have this particular thing called sources, where you can check what are the front end files that are downloaded, and you have this thing called network, where mainly you will see what kind of calls that are going to a server and how we are retrieving, right? There's something called, two things you have to note. There's something called XHR calls. XHR and others are little different. XHR is a XML HTTP request, which we call as an AJAX request, right?
Ajax.
So yes, Shiva?
No, it's Ajax, right?
Yes, XHR is actually abbreviation of XML HTTP request. Now, previously, why they kept as an XML is like we didn't have this JSON format to communicate, right? Everything we communicate with the XML only. This HTTP request format was in XML only. Nowadays JSON also came, but we are sending JSON, but in the name of XHR only. It's an XML HTTP request where you can see something like this. The AJAX call goes uh, like a request URL and what method it is doing and what's the status code and everything you can see. Whatever data it's returning, that you can see, right? See, it's returning a JSON here. So these data only front end framework gets and display, try to fit it to a particular web page object, and they try to display these things. Because only we say, for example, there is some default timeout is there with respect to an API, right? There might be some 30 seconds timeout, 45 seconds timeout. We don't know. For each and every API, it might vary. Sets of API, it might vary. So only people say for testing Ajax request or Ajax elements, it's kind of a little tricky because we don't know when that element is going to load. It all depends upon how much long the server is going to respond to fetch that element for us. And it is, I'm talking about only synchronous request. Synchronous request is something like server responds immediately after the request. There is also called asynchronous request, where server run the request in separate thread. It will just send the response back immediately saying that received your request, but I will not show the give your data immediately. It will just acknowledge, it will not give the data immediately. So it might take even 2-3 minutes to have those data, right? So we had to be careful in dealing such kind of elements also. If it's an asynchronous, it runs in a separate thread. We will not know if that is the case in the server. Right? And then came the WebDriver, and whatever we are currently using the WebDriver, and there is also something which is Selenium Grid, which you can connect multiple machines and across your network with multiple browsers um, to test your things, right? And this Selenium is also particularly useful when you are using a third party tools to test your things like browser stack, like source labs, those kind of things. So Selenium Grid is also useful there. um, I mean, these are the major components of a Selenium or history of a Selenium.
Just to add on to that, okay, Selenium 3, Karthik, you know the combination of Selenium. What is Selenium 3, right? I think so.
Yeah, sure, maybe you can explain it.
No, you carry on. I just want to give a hint. I think that will also cover if we want to give Selenium 3 about.
No, what do you mean by combination? Maybe I'm not.
Yeah, Selenium 3 version, it's a combination of Selenium RC and WebDriver. They call it as Selenium 3.
Yes,
The
yes.
Yeah, whatever we are using is Selenium 3. It's a combination of RC and the WebDriver. Actually, before it was not a Selenium WebDriver, it was WebDriver. Once it's been into the market, like as a Selenium community, they started saying it a Selenium WebDriver. But they combined the RC and the WebDriver, the libraries, to call it as a Selenium 3.
Yes.
So,
And if you go to the Selenium website,
and with RC, there's one major thing.
you have something called Selenium standalone WebDriver actually.
Yes, that is what I was about to say. Okay, which is a part of like this is for server, right? For the grid, right?
Yes.
If you go to, I think RC is deprecated, but when you say the major disadvantage of RC was same origin policy. Okay, so you can't
that
do
was also
testing.
there. Yes,
Yeah, that is a major major thing with whatever Karthik said. The other reasons of why it is stopped they using it. Why it was not peculiarly used. They used it a very good amount of time, but they stopped it because of same origin policy. What does it mean is we are working on this, assuming we're working on selenium.dev.downloads, we can only work on this page, or we can only call on this page. But if it is going to your next tab, which your URL is changing, it can't access it. That is the problem. Okay, until unless you are on the same page, you can work. See, now it's changed, right? Selenium RC cannot support until unless you give this URL. It will not help you out to do any automation on the same page. So that was a major disadvantage. Yeah, is it right, Karthik?
Yes, totally right.
Yeah.
Like you mean we can't change a page while automating our page?
We can change. It also gives you facility of changing it, but the point
It's kind
is,
of tricky to actually do that.
yeah, it can't automate. Means it doesn't give you end result. It will do your actions, but it will not execute that action on the new page because the same origin policies change because you're not on the same page.
Actually, before that, we have to also give context of what is same origin policy and cross origin policy.
Yes.
Sometimes see you're accessing some applications, Anshul. What happens is like the server has to know that you are only accessing the particular application, right? We saw so many Ajax requests going here, but this request can be given by anyone, right? It's a simple URL. It can be hit by anyone. Using simple postman. How will a server know that you are only hitting that? So it will check for the origin, right? The checking for the origin is kind of a little I mean it's kind of a different implementation. Maybe don't worry about what's the implementation. It will check for the origin. Hey, what's the origin like that? It has some headers to do that actually.
Yeah, right.
It has some header controls to do that. So what happens is like if some cross origin, if for example in certain instance even different browser tab some request triggers, then that also becomes a cross origin. Okay? And if from different application request trigger, that also becomes a cross origin. Right?
Yeah,
So,
that is yeah.
Yeah. So, sir, due to security violations, even nowadays the browser inbuiltly has some default coarse origin restrictions actually. Maybe next class I'll try to show the examples. It will restrict. It will not allow you to do some operations over the particular network. It will not give you data. So these kind of problems were there with respect to Selenium RC.
Maybe I'm not able to relate. If we'll go on a practical basis, you can explain
Actually, even
yeah.
I kind of what to say learned it.
Yeah, I totally understand. It might be difficult to like say we can understand it practically. If you are doing something, you can relate the example.
Okay. In
Yeah,
every
I'll just tell you on that. Okay. Assuming that Karthik is on the page, right, Achal? He's on the tutorial point dot and long stat and hyphen, like, index.html. Okay. Right?
Hmm.
You can do anything here. Okay.
Hmm.
Whatever Karthik said, the cross origin, right? If you are moving
Hmm.
from here to some other page, okay,
Hmm.
you need to
Hmm.
mention that in your script that you are going there, and
Okay.
it kind of, because whatever you want to do on the same page, it will allow you. Okay. If you change
Okay.
not only the like, next any extension to that whatever URL you have, or if you're trying to go from this website to other website, okay,
Hmm.
like you are having the banking application, right? I'll give you a
Hmm.
straight example. Phone Pay, you have example. Okay.
Hmm.
Phone Pay,
Hmm.
you are doing the payments to your electricity bills.
Yeah.
That is again connecting to your debit card. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
So three different layers. But while you're writing your test for your Phone Pay, and
Hmm.
you're changing your access control to your electricity
Different.
bill, electricity bill,
Okay.
electricity
Okay.
application. Then what happens
Hmm.
is now your origin changed, right?
Yeah.
You're not
Right.
working on the same platform. You're changing your environment. You're working in
Okay.
electricity API. Okay.
Okay.
And it's two different things. So it doesn't work out. That is actually when you say, with now you got phones, applications,
Okay.
and everything. So you can explain easy. But before, it's a web applications, web apps. What happens is you're moving from one tab to other tab, or you're doing any payments in your application, web application. It's different origin policy. So that is the
Okay.
problem.
This is the same origin policy.
Yes, you need to work on the
Yeah.
same website. Okay.
Yeah, right, got it.
You can't go
Say
and
like
work
in
on.
like if in an application there are multi third party integration, like for payment integration only, like different third party integration is needed for one application or a website. So we won't be able to go on second third party application. We would be
You can
working on
go.
the
You can go. What happens is we can go that, but we need to mention that. Here you are
okay
working on one page,
explicitly
right?
mention. Okay, we
Yes,
need to
yes, yes,
explicitly mention that. Okay,
yes.
that
It
Karthik
doesn't
said ki
take.
that is quite complicated to do that.
Yeah, it doesn't take it automatical as our WebDriver is doing it. Okay, it
Okay, okay,
understand
got it.
it understand one input. It goes from there as in like, node child relation, right? Like child
Yeah.
parent relation. Okay, right? So it doesn't. You don't need to mention every individual access URL for it. It automatically understand where you are going, what it is doing. Okay, it's least bothered, and they have depreciated that same origin policy and cross origin policy. They have implemented in WebDriver, and they have depreciated the RC.
Got it.
Karthik
and
is right.
yeah, and one more thing is like just go and explore few things which I say. There's something called session tokens, how they are maintaining the sessions, and
Okay.
cookies, right?
Okay.
And there's something called CSR token. Just explore this. It's kind of very useful actually. How they are maintaining session, how they are kind of restricting the cross-site requests and all. CSRF is
Okay.
cross-site request forgery. So this token will be available in server. If the client sends the same token only to the server, then it will authenticate any API request. Just explore these things. It's kind of very useful actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure,
Okay.
Karthik.
Token thing, I'll just like
Also,
go. I'll give
uh,
an example, guys. Okay. Recently, there's one of the group community I faced. There's one question was raised actually. It's respect to Informatica, but the person was not able to look his REST request. He's having the token issue. Okay. So he's using the tokens, and the token will give you authorization and authentication both at one single go. Okay. But he's ignored that token value. Okay. So that is important. Yeah.
Essentially, you're asking something.
yeah, I was saying, are we using RC nowadays? Like we are not using ID now. Like since we are using Selenium 3, which is a combination of RC and
No, we don't
WebDriver.
use RC
Use
actually.
RC. Okay.
We use WebDriver and it's kind of more than sufficient actually.
WebDriver and
WebDriver and that's it. WebDriver only.
Okay, so WebDriver here we mean Selenium 3, which is a combination of RC and WebDriver.
See, you don't have to worry about combination. Just
Okay.
realize that Selenium 3 is a WebDriver. It has a
Okay.
WebDriver in it, and we are
In
using
it.
that
Okay.
WebDriver to communicate with.
Okay, great.
And we have Selenium Grid also, which we use extensively.
Okay.
Selenium Grid to communicate to multiple browsers and multiple OSs at the same time to run the test.
Okay.
Okay. I think okay. That's one more thing before we wrap it, which I want to show is like, many times even in my company, it's an interview question in my company also. I don't know whether you people faced it in any company. How will you debug an error in any website?
So,
Let's say you're not automating it. You're just
yeah,
doing
yeah.
some error occurred in your website. Something is not
Hmm.
loading. Some 400
Hmm.
error, 500 error has come. So how will you debug it actually?
So in
So
my
there are
organization, we are to using Linux commands for the same. Like we go to the desired
Mhm.
file, cat file, catalog file where it is mentioned. We have to take information from the developer, like where it is kept, and we must be aware of the some commands of Linux. We explore all the errors through that. Also,
Okay,
we use
Linux is
Kibana
some
tool.
okay. Linux is something where what are you saying is like where the server is hosted, and there
Yeah,
might be
yeah,
some logs in the server, which
yeah, right,
yeah.
yeah,
So
right.
so as a person who is using a browser, how will you debug it?
A browser. Okay, for browser, we can directly check the network logs, which API is failing and all.
Yes, that is the thing which actually the answer we are expecting. So first thing you have to check for console. The
yeah,
console, the error will occur, right?
yeah.
Okay,
So what
yeah.
is the error in the
And
what
for
pin?
debug, we can use sources.
Sorry.
There is a sources tab after there is a sources tab after console. If we want to debug in browser, then we can debug it
Yes, yes, yes.
because in sources tab there are yeah, the functions
The
are
debugging,
which functions
the
are getting hit.
JavaScript debugging actually,
Oh,
not any other debugging. It uses for mainly for JavaScript debugging for front-end developers. You can have similarly breakpoints as you have in just maybe we'll try to. Okay, there's no JavaScript failure here. Maybe we'll try to something like this. We can have a debug point like this. You can try to run and debug here also. Console is main to
okay.
see errors, and network is kind of used to see the Ajax request, what is failing and what is not failing. This is kind of very important to know actually. And mainly, most of the failures will occur in this XHR calls only, right? These Ajax calls. Other these JS and CSS images, media are all static files. It will anyway load. And if the regular get call or main home page is not loading, it's a kind of very big problem. Otherwise, the main
Karthik,
problem.
can you explain the source, how to debug with the sources tab? I have never used before. How to debug with the sources tab?
No. Actually, it's not that important until maybe
Okay.
if I get a proper example, I will show because we are not using this application, right? Maybe if I get a proper example, I'll try to show.
Yeah, yeah,
For
sure, sure.
example, maybe I just try to reload this. Okay. No, it works in JavaScript actually. I'll try to show
Okay.
you that until actually how we'll do
Sure,
that.
sure.
But
Sure.
mainly it is used by front-end developers to debug this JavaScript actually. What is the problem in the front-end one? Anything related to
Okay.
JavaScript. We don't have to explicitly worry about that. We are
Okay.
mainly worried about the console, what is the error and what and are going to report the bug actually. And the network, what is the status code and which
Yeah,
API is
yeah.
failing and those kind of stuff.
Mostly I use network only.
Fine. So
वैसे I hardly do front-end testing. मतलब mostly I'm assigned to back-end task only.
no, actually, even I don't know. I'm kind of hated of JavaScript actually.
Okay, okay, okay.
So I don't delve in too much into this front-end debugging and
Okay.
it's kind of this the syntax and it's things are irritating actually. Not a structured way as we see in Java. Even Python is fine, even though it's not structured. Python and Ruby are fine. This JavaScript is kind of third world or some. It's no mass according to me. Okay. I think we can wrap up the session actually.
Yeah, sure.
This is irritating JavaScript. Fine. Fine. Any other thing that we can discuss, or we can wrap up the session, people?
Yeah, I think we all have to study like what you have told today. Like for me, I have to.
Okay. So yeah, we'll try to have Q&A tomorrow. I don't know how many people are joining, and we'll continue this Selenium from Monday onwards.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
If tomorrow, if no one has any